expertise, experiences on conquering VUCA. Good evening and welcome, gentlemen. This stage is yours.
Thanks a lot, sir. Good evening to all. At the outset, I express my deep gratitude and sincere thanks to Top League Training and Business Consultants for giving us the great opportunity in this platform. Before I kickstart any meeting, I always pay my respects to my teachers, my gurus, my mentors, and my coaches. A small message in the desk of coach. Friends, we need coaches to deepen our skills. We need teachers to expand our knowledge. We need mentors to reveal us to ourselves. We need gurus to realize our spiritual self. We need them all because they are the beacons to go beyond the horizons. So let us not compare ourselves with our guiding lights. Let us not attempt to coach the coach or teach the teacher or mentor our mentors. If you remove sun from the race, nothing remains. If you remove mud from the pot, nothing remains. If you remove cause from the effect, nothing remains. If we remove the teachings of our teachers from us, none of us will remain. So let us pay our respects to all our teachers, coach, mentors, and gurus. And thanks a lot for exhaustive introduction about myself as well as Mohan. Friends, the topic for discussion today is how to conquer VUCA. VUCA is an acronym. It was first used in 1987 based on the leadership theories of Warren Bennis and Bert Nandes. And VUCA stands for volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. So how to face VUCA? How to overcome VUCA? Sridhar is going to dwell upon. We need volatility. We require uncertainty. We need complexity, and we also require ambiguity. For example, stock market. Stock market is highly volatile. If it is excess volatile, it's dangerous. I'll give one more example for volatility. ECG. ECG should be in optimum volatility. If ECG is more volatile, it's a risk. If ECG is a straight line, there is no life. So volatility is required, uncertainty is required. But how we are going to face, how we are going to overcome this volatility, uncertainty, complexity, ambiguity, and bring a transformation, radical change from VUCA to VUCA prime, that is volatility to vision, uncertainty to understanding, complexity to clarity, and ambiguity to agility. So each component, volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity, each component has got certain characteristics and approaches. And apart from VUCA, Mr. Sridhar is going to discuss the very important topic, that is 7 habits of highly effective people. I think most of us knows about the book written by Stephen Covey. Almost 25 million copies have been sold across the globe. In fact, I would compare the 7 habits of highly effective people on par with the 7 wonders of the world. 7 colors makes a rainbow. 7 days makes a week. And 7 habits makes a person perfect. So with this, I conclude. I request Mr. Sridhar to take over the session. After the session is over, we'll have a debrief and certain points we'll touch upon on question and answers. Thank you very much, Mr. Sridhar. Please kindly take over the session. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Srivatsan, for the introduction of the subject. You have laid down the ground. Possibly it has made my job a little bit more easier. Thanks for that. But before that, I would like to thank the organizers, Top League Consultants. May I thank my senior friend, Arun Subramaniam sir, for giving me this opportunity. May I also thank Mr. Mohan for the excellent introduction. Of course, my dear friend Prasad is there, is part of the organizers. I would like to thank you all. Besides that, of course, the participants who have come here today, I thank you all for preparing, planning to spend your time. I'm sure, I'm confident that you will find that it has been very well worth spent. Let's see. So, Srivastava has already laid the ground. So I need to share the screen. Mohan said, do you need to enable me?
Already enabled, Mr.
Already enabled? Okay.
You're the co-host. You can do that.
Okay. I am the co-host. Can you see this, my friends? Can you all see this?
Yes, it's coming up. It's coming up.
Let it. Go to the slideshow mode and the thing is, I'm not able to get into that slideshow mode. Why this band is giving problem? And
Sir, you can press F5
yeah. I dragged it. Yeah, now I get it. Prasad, I'm getting it, Prasad. Hopefully, it should be okay. Yeah, nothing. I mean, that is nothing about that. Yeah, we'll get into the subject straight away. How to conquer VUCA, the art of winning VUCA. Srivastava has already laid the ground. As I said, what is VUCA? Acronym: volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. That is the situation. And this is the kind of lens. Hereafter, probably we need to look at the developments, look at the perspectives with this VUCA only, because things are no longer the same. Say, before we left the market in January, February, I could be a field worker, I could be a factory worker, I could be an office worker, whatever may be my working style, whatever may be. By till January, February, things were going at certain level. By March 22nd onwards, it was, lockdown, pandemic. Things have started to, take a little bit of deterioration, rather, I would say. So much so, total close down had taken place for 6-7 months. I have seen many of the businesses have been lost. We have witnessed actually people have lost jobs, where the salaries have been cut. So many things have been happening in these 6-7 months. Slowly we are limping back to normalcy. September, October, possibly November. Slowly we have been limping back to normalcy. And we get back to offices. If I'm an office worker, I go back to my office. Factory worker, I go to factory. I'm a field worker, salesperson, medical representative. I go to the field. Then I find things are not as normal as they left them to be. When I left the market in January, February, things are no longer the same. Things have changed. So it is new normal. It is no longer that old normal. It is a new normal. So it's better. I accept the new normal. It's better that I sharpen my skills, unlearn, learn, and relearn, no, as they say. Because what is happening is, say, if I am a salesperson or service person, I find my competitors are much more faster. My customers are much more demanding. I found, Eureka folks, man, I had to call him to my house. 6 months, 7 months, nothing could happen. No. Now then I called him. There was always urgency in me. He said, sir, so many people are already calling me. See, urgency is there. Urgency is there. Things have changed. Even if you're an office worker, let me tell you, my dear friend, suddenly you will find in some medium-sized companies, smaller companies, earlier 10 people are working. Today, 5 people are only working. 5 people have lost their jobs. What kind of security I have? Is it not what? I'm not getting into the merits of the issue, but I'm talking about the reality of the situation. So I'm an office worker. That's what I'm facing. Probably I may be working in big companies like Ashok Leyland or Tata, where I've been assured about healthcare, where we have been assured of salaries for 9 months. All right. But there is a sense of urgency. My bosses are sitting on my head. Even normal times they will sit. Now they want better productivity from me. That's what we say. From the field worker, office worker, factory worker, whatsoever. So it is a new normal, my dear friend. It is no longer the old kind of situation. I'm not going to say we were able to relax in a manner, whatever it is, but no longer the earlier kind of my mindset can sustain. I need to understand the new reality, and I need to sharpen my skills, embrace myself, improve my knowledge, possibly slightly attitudinal change. That's what we say, for success: knowledge, skill, and attitude. In all the 3 parameters, probably we need to reinvent and reshape ourselves. So that is the situation. VUCA world, that is a lens through which we need to look at all the developments. So we all know it, Charles Darwin, what he said that, it is not the strongest of the species, neither it is the most intelligent. Who is going to survive? The one which is most responsive to change. That is the operative word, the most responsive to change. That's one is going to survive. We all know it. So VUCA, the problem, volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. That's the problem. If VUCA is a problem, that is a problem statement. Obviously, there has to be a solution. What is the solution? The solution is VUCA prime. We say same acronym, VUCA, but VUCA prime, an improved version, a version which will confront VUCA, a version which will challenge VUCA, VUCA prime. What do you say? If it is volatility, let us have a better vision. How can I have a better vision? Let me clarify my purpose once again. By clarifying my purpose, the way I look at things, I'll be able to have a better vision. This clarifying purpose, we'll discuss it in later slides. Similarly, uncertainty, we'll get some better understanding. How do I get a better understanding? Let me question the situation. Let me listen to people. Thereby, I get better understanding. Complexity. So what? We can get clarity. How do I get it? By engaging with others, talking to them. Let me know their ideas. Let me chat, exchange my ideas. We'll discuss again. Clarity and agility. My dear friend, this is a watchword, my dear friend. I mean, many of us might be knowing agility. This agile has become a watchword now, just like VUCA. I mean, I was talking to your software people a couple of months back. Agile methodology. Agile. What is agile methodology? In project management, earlier, it used to be waterfall method. What is waterfall method? Many of the people who are in project management, they would know waterfall method. So it takes 1.5 years for the project to be completed. But till the product is there, end product is there, nobody will be able to possibly even make any changes. Even the customer cannot make any changes. Who is the stakeholder? Who is the user? He will not be able to. So that waterfall is replaced by agile methodology. Agile methodology is involve all the stakeholders, be it the designer, be it the executor, and include the customer. And then break it into smaller one, prototype, then do it. That is iterate, that is do it, and have some incremental increments, whatever incremental developments. They call it as a sprint. What is a sprint? A 2-week sprint. So within 2 weeks, you do that. Give it to your customer. Take his opinion. Come back once again. Redo it once again. Iterate, reiterate, then do it. That is agile methodology in software, in project management. But this agile methodology, my dear friends, it has come to all facets of industry. You could be in finance, you could be in marketing, you could be in training, you could be in production. Agility. So how do we get that agility? As you rightly said, have a small prototype, find out what you want, try to get it, then make whatever, give to the stakeholder, and get it done. Then once again, iterate it, reiterate it, sprint. So if VUCA is the problem, VUCA prime is the solution, vision, understanding, clarity, and agility. And what do they say is with agility, don't procrastinate. Agility, there could be 2-3 routes, but think clearly, act decisively and immediately. That's what agility is also all about. That is VUCA prime. Let us look at the economic scenario. Just now, only yesterday, the budget was placed in the parliament. Let us see what is the economic scenario. I'm trying to trace our GDP, gross domestic product, from 2010 to 2019. And this year, 2020-21, there is likely to be some negative growth of 7.7%. But otherwise, the statistics says at least in 2019, it was $2.875 trillion. And last year, when Nirmala Sitharaman, our finance minister, placed the budget, she said by 2025, we'd like to make India as a 5 trillion economy. And even then, there were skeptical. People are not prepared to believe. They thought it is a very ambitious planning. Generally, it was good. And nobody knew that. Nobody could speculate or predict pandemic could come. Even otherwise, it was going to be always a stiff target, but nothing wrong in setting yourself some bigger goals, stiffer goals. No problem. It's okay. Let us say it was well integrated. Anyway, 2020, of course, it was a disaster, once in century disaster. So this $5 trillion, again, of course, she has played a budget yesterday where people say it is good, whatever, that we leave to the people, economists and other people. So this $5 trillion, if not in 2025, my dear friend, by 2026 or 2027, we are bound to reach. So from $2.875 trillion to $5 trillion in possibly another 5-6 years time, it is bound to get there. What it means for me, what it means for you, what it means for the youth of this country. That's what we are trying to look. So to have a glimpse, we'll have just a flashback of it. What happened? Assume we met in 2010. Same Sridhar is addressing you all. We are discussing about GDP. That time the GDP was $1.675 trillion under Dr. Manmohan Singh. Possibly, I don't know, whether it was Chidambaram or Pranav Da, who was the finance minister. I'm not too sure now. So that time they would have said, no, our GDP is 1.675. By 2020, we would like to reach a GDP of $3 trillion. They might have said. I mean, Manmohan Singh or P. Chidambaram, whomsoever. So we are close to that almost, you should say. But what is the manifestation of that? Rather, what has pushed this GDP from $1.675 trillion to $2.9 trillion? GDP, as you all know, it comprises of, and I'm not going to take any economic class or something, but we need to get the perspective. We need to know what is in it for me. Ultimately, that is a question. If 550 people are there sitting today, we would like to know what is in it for me from this 2-hour discussion from Sridhar and Sivatsan. Similarly, if economy is going to grow, if somebody says it is going to become $5 trillion, and many of the IMF, World Bank, and all others are predicting by 2030, India is going to become the third largest economy. Today, we are the fifth largest economy. They give another 10 years, we will become the third largest economy, next only to US and China. Again, it is not a government's promulgation. The independent world bodies, financial institutions are speculating. It might well become true. When we can become fifth or sixth today, why not we can become third by another 10 years? It is likely to happen. Definitely will happen. So what is happening is what pushed it? GDP, as we just said, what is the component of GDP? Agriculture, industry, and services. Then in these 10 years, you see what has happened. The economy has grown from $1.675 trillion to $2.9 trillion. What happened? Who pushed it? The brands like Ola were never known before, but they came to the market. Amazon, we never knew before 2010. Swiggy, of course, Bullet, we all know, people of my generation, we all know, but Bullet is a new avatar now. How well they are penetrating the market. WhatsApp, before 2010, nobody knew WhatsApp. Android phone, who knew before 2010? We all knew only Nokia. So these are all the, at that time, at 2010, had you asked me, I would not have been able to say these are all the brands are going to come. These are all the companies, national companies, international companies will come and invest, and these are all the brands will get. I couldn't say. Of course, today I can confidently say Tesla has already come. Elon Musk already has come, but who are all going to come in future, we don't know. So the way I could not have predicted who are all the players who will come. But definitely the economy is going to grow. More and more foreign investment, more and more expanded Indian investment would come. I would have discussed on 2010, and same had happened. So now the next exciting growth journey, 2025 to 2030, from $2.9 trillion to $5 trillion and beyond, that is going to be a journey, exciting economic journey. That is a journey of growth. That is a journey of express. But can I catch the train? That is a question. Can I catch the train? Of course, there will be huge opportunities, bigger opportunities, but there is a bigger challenge as a population. If there are 100 jobs, 10,000 people are waiting. Okay, next 10 years, these 100 jobs will balloon into 10,000 jobs. But the problem is the unemployment, of course, population might be controlled to some extent, but unemployment ratio might come down. But there is going to be still the contradiction between employment and unemployment is going to be there. So, as we earlier said, survival of the fittest. Here, survival of the person, it is going to be the person who is going to upskill himself, who is going to upgrade his knowledge, skill, and attitude. So that is what we are trying to discuss. So yes, there is going to be a train. Yes, there is going to be a growth train, an express train. Yes, I want to be part of that, but I need to get the reservation because there is no standing in other things. Reservation, I need to reserve my post there, my seat there. How do I do that? Only by upgrading myself, unlearn, learn, and relearn. I cannot face tomorrow's challenges with yesterday's knowledge and skill and attitude. I need to sharpen my skills. I need to sharpen my tools. That is the name of the game. Sharpen our skills, sharpen our tools. That's what we are trying to do. That obviously, as trainers, we have a huge role and responsibility to play. Of course, there is a huge opportunity. The youth of this country has to be trained. The middle-aged people, everybody will have to be trained on knowledge, skill, and attitude so that they become much more stronger, much more fitter to face the challenge. In that bargain, obviously, I will also be monetarily compensated. So I do have a vested interest in this growth of this country, in the growth of the individuals, in the growth of the youth. With this background of this economic scenario, we will get into that VUCA Prime, as we said, vision, understanding, and clarity and agility. That's what we were discussing. How do we get that? That VUCA Prime. We say 5 skills and 7 habits are needed. What are all those 5 skills? Creativity, persuasion, collaboration, adaptability, and emotional intelligence. These are all the 5 skills, important skills, which will be brought to play. I have not recommended it. LinkedIn, which made a survey last year, they have said they went and took a poll, the survey done among corporate managers and executives, where they have opined, year after year it is being done, where they have opined that these are all the top 5 skills we'll be expecting from our potential recruits and our existing employees. If I want it from a potential recruit, I will even want my employees to be fit on creativity, persuasion, collaboration, adaptability, and emotional intelligence. Mind you, my dear friend, this emotional intelligence was not there as a 5th point in 2018. It was ranked some 7th or 8th. Now it is assuming importance and it has come to 5th. I will not be surprised, my dear friend, this emotional intelligence probably climbs a couple of rungs above by another 1 or 2 years, because emotional intelligence by itself, it's going to be a very big topic and we need to discuss it possibly at some other later platform. Today, we'll be discussing about these 5 skills and 7 habits. Of these 5 skills and 7 habits, given the nature of the participants and audience, I would like to probably have a kind of a superficial view and discussion on these 5 skills, but I would like to elaborate a little bit more on 7 habits of Stephen Covey. So with this point said, we'll go to the next one. What are all the benefits? I said, no, why should I listen here? 1.5 hours, 2 hours discussion from Sridhar and Srivatsan. What is in it for me as a participant? What are the key benefits? There'll be increased productivity, improved profitability, better interpersonal relationship, congenial workplaces, smooth change management, and overall leadership development. All of us are leaders. 2 days back, Arun sir was talking leadership everywhere. That is a question. Yesterday, of course, I was listening to some. They said, you don't have to have a position to be a leader. If you can influence somebody, then you are a leader. If you can inspire somebody, then you are a leader. If you can influence the influencer, they say, no, in the organizational pyramid, even if you are in the middle, they say, you don't have to be at the top to be a leader. Even if you're in the middle, if you can influence the influencers, then you will be doing your job. So that's what, these are all the 6 key benefits we'll be getting once when we master these 5 skills and 7 habits. First is creative thinking. Creative thinking. What is creative thinking? Albert Einstein says that creative thinking is intelligence having fun. See, intelligence, when creativity is like intelligence having fun. That's what he says, have fun. What are the points? Creative thinking, brainstorming, lateral thinking, and mind mapping. These are all the 3 points. That is a way of looking at problems or solutions from a fresh perspective that suggests unusual solution. I'm always tempted when it is creative thinking. There are many examples around us. Creative thinking is always there. But one of my very, very favorite example is, of course, a cricket analogy I would like to draw upon, the metaphor. 1977, it was a watershed moment in international cricket. Kerry Packer, he had some problem with Cricket Australia. Then he started his own channel. Then he wanted to bring his own people. So he brought people from West Indies, Australia, Pakistan. And of course, Tony Greig from England came. People will remember. He wanted to start cricket. He wanted to rival the establishment. But you can't offer the same product. Is it not? How I want to be different. What strategic thinking says, what strategic management says, I got to differentiate myself. Is it not? Focus, cost leadership, and differentiator. These 3, no. Probably you can have all the 3, but minimum there has to be differentiation. So Kerry Packer said, 5-day cricket, okay, we'll play, but we'll not play in the daytime. We'll play night cricket, he said, Kerry Packer. So that is creative thinking 5. Lateral thinking, creative thinking, out of the box thinking. That is it. And First day they went, he said, okay, if it is going to be night cricket, we'll have colored clothing, he said. Till that day, it was only white clothing. We'll have colored clothing to attract the people. Yes, have colored clothing. Maroon for West Indies, yellow for Australia, green for Pakistan, like that, colored clothing. And they went and played with the same red ball. Then the fielders could not see the ball. The batsman also could not see the ball. Same red ball. So they all went and complained. Kerry Packer, sir, it's not a problem, sir. What do? Shall we change the clothing? Like that. No, 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 he said. See the person, no, see his genius. See the person. He said, no. When I have a good idea, if there is a problem in implementation, I should not abandon my idea. I should try to overcome the problem. All of us were convinced that night cricket has there, it has come to stay, people will like it. Colored, I think, attractive, floodlight cricket. Then what do? Okay, instead of red ball, have a white ball. He said, that is a lesson for all of us. Have an idea, have creative thinking. Don't abandon it just because we are not able to implement it. Try to overcome the problem which comes in between. So change the color of the ball, make it white. Then what do I do with the side screen? Earlier white side screens, traditional, bring it black. See how the creative thinking, lateral thinking, out of the box thinking. It's a way of looking at problem situations from a fresh perspective. I mean, you will tell me many things. I can tell many things. Like now, the batsmen are playing reverse sweep. That is a creative thinking. From 5-day cricket to 1-day cricket, creative thinking. 1-day cricket to T20, creative thinking. So creative thinking is all about trying to look at the problems or situations from a fresh perspective, so that it brings in some unusual solution. That's creative thinking. So what are all the creative thinking? As I said earlier, these 5 skills, I'll be doing it in a little superficially only, because each skills can be discussed for one full day. I'm talking about 8 hours, I'm talking face to face with the activities and other things. But my given limited time, and I must thank Arun sir for extending our time from 1 hour to a little beyond. So I'll be only making superficially, but I would like to lay more emphasis and discussion on 7 habits of Stephen Covey, highly effective people. So creative thinking, what are all the bullet points? Analytical, be analytical. Have open-minded. Let there not be any bias. Problem solving, obviously, problem solving. Organization, be very good in your organizational ability. Of course, communication is there. Of course, communication. That's creative thinking. Second is persuasion ability. My dear friends, today more and more in the workplace, from the youngsters, this persuasion is being demanded. What is the goal of persuasion? It is trying to change someone's attitude or behavior. Persuasion. You'll see all the 5 skills, my dear friend. Be it creative thinking, now persuasion, and the next 3, you'll find it has its roots in 7 habits of highly effective people. That is why we are trying to combine that. So the goal of persuasion is to change someone's attitude or behavior, make them comply with the request, and let them understand by using human psychology. Persuasion. That is, understand the purpose, develop confidence, focus, honesty, my dear friend. We'll discuss this point. Honesty and trust, that has to be there. That is the bedrock of any relationship. The acronym CURE, that is credibility. Use evidence so that we'll be able to persuade people. Reasoning, logic, and of course, there is scope for emotional appeal as well. And there is non-verbal communication. So persuasion brings in all these things. I'm just having a bird's eye view. Anyway, anybody can guess it. Collaboration, another very, very important skill. Next to creative thinking and persuasion, it's collaboration, workplace collaboration. How do we do that? I should have the open mind. Once again, willingness to find solution. I should take responsibility for the mistakes if I've committed. And as and when somebody else has done a good job, let us appreciate them, give them credit. Say actively listening to other team members' concern. We will discuss this point later in the habits, in the 5th habit. Listen. That's what is being said. That is workplace collaboration. That is skill number 3. Collaboration. What are all the things needed? Honesty everywhere. We will discuss character ethic, honesty, integrity. Stephen Covey will say that. Character ethic. Compromise, of course. I should be able to, give and take type of thing. Give and take. Look at the larger picture and try to compromise. Don't get bogged down on the way, on the processes. In the sense, try to make it give and take, slightly give it. Dependability. Once again, it comes out of integrity. Teamwork. There we'll be discussing about synergy, teamwork. The second half of 4, 5, 6 habits, public victory, teamwork, will be discussing. Delegation of jobs. Delegation. Once again, I can't be doing every job. Even I may be capable of doing every job. Why should I do that? Let me delegate. let me delegate to people. And having delegated this job, it is very important. Don't micromanage. Give them the broad direction. Tell them how to do it. Or if they are still good at it, let them evolve their own process. Let them do it. For God's sake, don't micromanage. And assure them, I'm always there with you. Don't worry. Should you have any problem, you can come to me. I'll guide you as a leader, as a senior. But for God's sake, don't micromanage. Allow them, give them the freedom, let them express. That's where the atmosphere of trust would come. And of course, interpersonal communication. We have these are a very elite audience. I don't need to go much to that. See, Steve Jobs is telling on collaboration. What he's telling? Great things in business are never done by one person. Steve Jobs is telling. Great things are done. Not by, you are a genius. You may come out with a brilliant idea, but it has to be executed well by people. So it requires teamwork. It requires team building. It requires collaboration. So incidentally, I mean, this delegation, I'm reminded of what Steve Jobs said. I mean, today morning I was discussing with other friend. Steve Jobs said that if I appoint some intelligent person, I don't have to tell him what he should do or what is good for me. Rather, he should come and tell me, sir, we'll do it this way. We'll do it. That's why I appointed an intelligent person. So it is like, once again, giving them the functional autonomy, broadly speaking, delegation. So this is collaboration is all about. Adaptability. Charles Darwin has said, we have said that adaptable, which is the species which is most adaptable, the quality of being able to adjust to new conditions, the capacity to be modified for a new use of purpose. More so today, my dear friend. If there is going to be one word in VUCA, adaptability, adaptability, adaptability. That is one word we should. Adaptability skills. Of course, Benjamin Franklin has said, change is the only constant. One's ability to adapt. That's what defines a success. No fear of failure. When I want to adapt, when I have to adapt myself, let there not be any fear of failure. Many people have failed. Many people have succeeded. Michael Jordan, how many things we have seen. Rahul Dravid says, a person with a 55 average in test cricket, he has played some 200 or odd test innings. And of that, only he says, he sees his benchmark. He says, only in 50 or 55 innings, I have crossed my average of 55, he said, which means other 150 innings I have failed, I'm below 55, which means I've been a failure. Even till today, he's telling. See his humility. See his purpose, how he is working. Today, I mean, it is apt to say that today they're all celebrating the Indian victory in Australia. I mean, it was never fathomed once we were defeated for 36 in Melbourne. I mean, rather Adelaide. Melbourne was a history. Sydney was an again history. And of course, the fourth test, Brisbane again. See, we are trying to give credit to all the youngsters and everybody, but you need to remember about the person Rahul Dravid also, who has been kind of a conveyor belt, who has been teaching these young boys, under 19, under 21, India. So that person is telling, I have failed in more than 100. See, that is a kind of benchmark he's giving. So we can never afford to be, fear of failure. No, we should never. Otherwise, then we stop growing. We will remain in comfort zone. For fear of failure, if I refuse to attempt newer things, then I'll be only in comfort zone. So resourcefulness, ability to see the bigger picture. That is what habit number 2. Keep the end in mind. You will say, Stephen Covey says, ability to see the big picture. Positive self-talk. Yeah, self-belief. There has to be self-belief. I mean, Natarajan, T. Natarajan, fastest, Washington Sundar, fastest. And they were never mentally prepared. During the early part of the series, or when they traveled to Australia, Natarajan was not even in the team. He was a net bowler. Washington Sundar was not even in a test squad. Again, he was retained as a net bowler. But the self-belief, self-talk, that will help you when you get an opportunity. Because curiosity, stay curious. That's what, no? The creative thinking also, it came, stay curious. Being present. Yeah, stay in the present, Of course, yesterday is gone. Don't bother much about tomorrow. I need to plan. That is another matter. But I cannot be bogged down. It is like previous ball, I was beaten. Forget it. Next ball, I don't know how the bowler will bowl, but this present ball, let me concentrate on the present ball. Forget the past. Don't worry too much about the future. Stay in the present. That's what adaptability skills are all about. My dear friend, this is getting really important. This emotional intelligence. As I said, it has got the 5th rank of that in those 5 skills shortlisted by LinkedIn. Emotional intelligence, self-awareness, self-management, that is, understand my emotion, regulate my emotion, self-management, understand others' emotion, and relationship management, empathy, and can I frame my activity. Yeah, emotional intelligence is going to be again a fundamental for increased leadership ability, increased team performance, improved decision making, and occupational stress, all other aspects, whatever is there, emotional intelligence is going to be the bedrock of that. And in the years to come, my dear friend, EQ versus IQ, there is always a now discussion. Intelligent quotient or emotional quotient, which is more important? Like that, there is a discussion. We say that it is not EQ versus IQ, it is EQ and IQ. IQ should be there. My knowledge, my theoretical knowledge, IQ should be there, intelligent quotient should be there. But EQ will help me to get promotions. IQ will get me job. EQ will get me promotion. That's what we try to say. And incidentally, IQ, it stops growing once you are some 18, 19-year-old or something. Whereas the good news about EQ is you can continue to learn, grow, even if you are 90. So that's what is emotional intelligence. So there are two sets of leader. May I have your response in chat box, or maybe you can unmute yourself and talk. This is one set of leader, option A. Another set of leader is option B. Which leader you would choose, my dear friends? Can you type it out? Just read it and type it out.
Option B.
Option B, sir.
Why, sir?
Absolutely, because as a leader, you have to have these qualities. Otherwise, you are bossing. You are not a leader.
Fast class, fast class. Boss is leader. Superb, I like it. Anybody else? Anybody else?
It's 2080.
Yeah. Anybody else? Anybody else?
Option A, 80, option B.
He is emotionally intelligent.
First class. Yeah, I think almost there is unanimity. See, option A is a good person. He is intelligent, right? But leadership is not just being intelligent, not being. How many times we have seen, people individually they are brilliant, but they are not team players. When I'm not a team player to begin with, how am I going to be a team leader? So, see option B. He tries to understand you, listens with intent. He is influencing positively. We said no, influence. If you can influence people, you are a leader. Irrespective, forget the position, lack of position. Can you influence? Can you inspire people? The leader knows the way, shows the way, and goes the way. Is pretty common crisis situation. There are many kinds of leadership here. When you say calm, we are reminded of Dhoni, successful leadership. Virat Kohli was also successful. Now Ajay Kirane again, he seems to be in the mold of Dhoni. Again, see various kind of leadership. Empathy, that is the watchword, my dear friend. Empathy. What is the difference between sympathy and empathy? Anybody? Sympathy and empathy?
Sympathy means feel pity about it. Empathy means try to understand things others.
Fast class. Sympathy means, sorry, probably I'm even helping. That is the way. But empathy is trying to put myself in his shoes. I don't have to agree with him, in fact. But can I understand? Can I try to understand? Can I put myself in his shoes? So, somebody was telling a couple of days back, two important qualities in anybody, humility and empathy. There are, of course, many things, but these two are, I was impressed when the gentleman said, humility, have humility. I was talking to one of your senior colleagues yesterday morning, top league. I was talking to him because he's present today. That humility, I like that, honestly. I would like to.
If you were asked me the same question, Sridhar sir, 10 years ago, I would have chosen option A.
Sir, your name, sir?
Mazhar, sir.
Mazhar. Good evening, Mazhar. Mazhar, my friend. Yeah, Mazhar. 10 years back, yes, but things are evolving. That's what you are telling. Things are evolving. The situation is more and more demanding. I'll give you, Mazhar and my dear friends, other friends, I'll just give you another point. In 18th centuries, 19th centuries, earlier it was felt leaders are born. They are born leadership. Because that time there were only a handful of leadership in 18th century, 19th century. So the historians and the researchers, with some limited leaders available throughout the world, they came to a conclusion leaders were born.
Because those days there were only kings, sir. I am Chidambaram, your friend.
Yes, sir. Good evening, sir. Welcome.
Those days it was kings. Now it is different democracy. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, sir. Please feel free to intervene, add, comment,
days-
disagree,
those-
disagree.
Those days it was
1 minute, 1 minute.
dictatorial.
1 minute. Arun sir has been kind enough, gracious enough to give me beyond 1 hour. So we can make it really an interactive session also. Even though Mohan sir said, I respect that. But now given the extended hours, we can have an interview. Yes, sir. Chidambaram sir, my dear friend. Yes, limited situation, limited leadership, all workings, monarch. And I mean, obviously, it is a inheritance.
Those days it was a dictator type of leadership.
Yeah.
So that was easy to handle with the option A.
Yeah. Now, 20th, 19th century later, 20th century, more and more leaders started coming, not only in political arena, in the industrial arena. Then the researchers started interviewing them, then trying to listen. Then they find a leader need not be a born leader. Today morning, I was listening to John Maxwell. He was telling, you don't have to, it's a myth. It's no longer, you don't have to be born leader. You can learn. That is the good news for all of us. You can learn to be a good leader. Provided he was telling, can you influence people? That's what he's telling. John Maxwell is telling, can you, if you influence, you are a leader, as simple as that. Yeah? But there are a few things which you need to. There are a few things which we'll be discussing now for leadership, powerful lessons in personal change. We'll be discussing all those things. So
Actually, option B will be a trustworthy leader.
The trustworthy leader, leader has to be trustworthy, sir.
So that is option B.
Yeah. You're right, sir. So trustworthiness comes. I mean, whether I'm leader or a cadre, trustworthy is non-negotiable, sir. Non-negotiable.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. But I mean, thanks for the good participation. Option B. I mean, that's it. Because basically that helps you to get into more and more, I mean, understanding others, and you become more successful. That's what it is. Yeah. So we are in emotional intelligence. That's what Bruce Lee says. Don't give in to your emotion. You lose yourself. You must be one with your emotion. Because body always follows the mind. Bruce Lee, we all know, Enter the Dragon. Our hero in mid-70s, Bruce Lee. Karate expert. That's what he's telling. So what happens? People with low emotional intelligence, you see, they are aggressive, demanding, egotistical, bossy, confrontational. People with high emotional intelligence, they are assertive. They know what they want. They can tell what they want. Crisp, clearly they can communicate. Concrete manner, concise manner. 7 C's of communication. No? They can converse like that. They can communicate. They are ambitious, of course. They are driving, strong will, and as you said, decisive. That is people with high emotional intelligence. So this is the one slide. If you want, maybe you can take a photograph about emotional intelligence. It's all about understanding my emotions, managing my emotions, regulating my emotions, understanding others' emotions, motivation, and trying to frame my approach, my relationship with them. That's what this is: self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, the social skills. On some other day, some other time, emotional intelligence itself, we can obviously discuss on a elaborate session. That is. So finally, what it comes to that emotional residue, which plus, minus, plus, whatever it is. Positive emotions. What are the positive emotions? Appreciation, satisfaction, love, recognition, happiness, bonding, awareness, contentment. These are all positive emotions. What are the negative emotions? Resentment, anger, failure, obligation, bitterness, negative emotions. So emotional residue. If I have more of positive and less of negative, then I'm having a positive emotional residue. Then happiness is there, goodness is there, prosperous growth is there. If my negatives are more, obviously I'm in net deficit, minus now, sorrow, ill health, strain. Can you relate? Many of our people surrounding us, just see where they are. If they are here, obviously they'll have positive emotions more. If they are here, my dear friend, they'll be having this more. Maybe you can monitor and back check, verify with our friends and relatives, whomsoever. That is emotional residue. Yeah, here we are coming to this, my friend. This is the place where I would like to possibly spend a little bit longer time. 7 habits of highly effective people. Those 5 skills: creative thinking, collaboration, persuasion, adaptability, emotional intelligence. How I'm going to get those 5 skills? With these 7 habits of highly effective people. Powerful lessons in personal change. This is by Stephen Covey. More than 40 million copies have been sold worldwide. 4 presidents of the United States, they are beneficiaries of this. Either they have read this book or possibly they have physically attended his program. Stephen Covey, they have been beneficiary, president of United States, I mean. And 31 heads of states could be prime ministers, presidents across the world globe. Either again, they have been beneficiary of this 7 habits of highly effective people. If all those people have are benefited, innumerable CEOs and corporate managers and business people, ruined businesses have been revamped and revived and brought back to positivity and profitability. Strained marriages between spouses, they have been repaired. Because the 7 habits is not just for corporate people. In my professional life, in my personal life, in my social life. Athletes, Michael Phelps says, a gold medalist, swimmer, Michael Phelps, he says, it helped in goal setting and staying in the process, he says, Michael Phelps. So many people have been benefited. So that is why I've chosen this. And this is my, you can say, a signature program, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. I mean, I do conduct other programs, but be it to colleges, be it to corporates, I make it a point to do this program also. Probably I can do it, we'll do it in say 40 minutes, 1 hour, 2 hours, whatever manner, but we need to. It is possible. Some of us are already practicing. We might have read the book, already practicing. So for you, it's a kind of refresher, but it is possible. Some of us possibly might not have read this book. So after the end of this session, next for half an hour, 40 minutes, probably this may stimulate you to motivate you to read this book. Nothing like reading this. I'm a poor. How can I reproduce what Stephen Covey has said? I'm just making a small attempt. That's all. So 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, powerful lessons in personal change. For anything and everything, there is a guideline. If I want to travel in the road, there is a guideline. There is a natural law which governs. Go, keep left, stay in the signal, don't go beyond 40 kilometers in a normal roads like that. So it is better I stick to that. If I want to be successful, I better stick to that. Similarly, for success also, for being effective also, there are certain principles, governing principles. We should stick to that. We should stay. We should identify them. We should apply those principles. We should stay within that framework. We should not try to short circuit that. Don't try to short circuit. We should not try to use the shortcut. Probably we may get some results, but obviously we all know it. We are all senior professionals. They are only short term. It cannot sustain. We are not going to get sustained results. So success is tied to those certain principles. We better work in harmony with those principles. What are those principles? 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Habit number 1, be proactive. Habit number 2, begin with the end in mind. Habit number 3, put first things first. You see, these 3 are roots. They are not seen outside, the roots of the tree. First 3. Habit number 4, think win-win. Habit number 5, seek first to understand, then to be understood. Habit number 6, synergize. Habit number 7, sharpen the saw. We'll go through this. I promise you, you will find it really interesting. The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. We said earlier, we referred character ethics and personality ethics. What are character ethics? What is personality ethics? Character ethics are something, put it simply, what our mother, grandmother, grandfather taught us. Values, principles, they are all the one character ethics. It could be, say, modesty, it could be integrity, humility, patience. These are all the things. In our moral education classes, we used to be taught character ethics. Personality ethics are more of, what is happening today, what I want, if I want to achieve certain things. They are positive, no doubt. They are not negative, mind you. But they are, like premeditated behavior, first impression, identity. He is even telling positive attitude. He is also telling, it's a personality ethic. That's what he says. Stephen Covey, he says, I've made a survey of, I've researched our literature, US literature, 150 years literature. First 100, 120 years, I found that this character ethics was given importance. But in these last 40, 50 years, this personality ethic is given more and more prominence and importance. And he says, character ethics are important and basement. Personality ethics, you can always have it, but you cannot have it at the cost of character ethics. That's what he's telling. So we all better would have it, as we said earlier. Character ethic, I said no about integrity, honesty. That is the bedrock. That is important. Again, in the succeeding slides, forthcoming slides, we'll be discussing that. So character ethic is invisible. Iceberg, tip of the iceberg was only known. Only the personality ethics are known outside. But let your personality ethics be on the foundation of character ethics. That's what Stephen Covey wants us to develop. Yeah, what is that? Habits. 7 habits of highly effective people. But what is habit? Habit is knowledge, skill, and attitude, their integration. Knowledge is, of course, what to do and why to do. Skills, how to do. And desire, of course, we say attitude, but generally he says desire. Desire is wanting to do it. All the three are important. Nothing is more important or less important. I need to know the knowledge. I need to have the skills. I need to have the desire to do it. So the intersection of that is habits. And habits, everybody says, no, 21 days, same place, same time, repeat it. You are likely to take it as your habit. Of course, certain difficult habits, probably it may require more time, but minimum 21 days, consistency, continuity. Probably it will be better even if you want to do it in one single place, same place, do it. 21 days, continuity, consistency. That is habit for you. The first 3 habits, as I said, be proactive, begin with the end in mind. First things first. He says that is from dependence, it helps me to become independent. It is about me as an individual. Sridhar, I should have these habits. I should be proactive. I should always have the begin. I should start begin with the end in mind. Keep the end in mind and put first things first. That is within me. It helps me to become dependent to independent. He calls it private victory. This is private victory, privacy. This is within myself. That is it. And next, habit number 4, think win-win. Habit number 5, seek first to understand, then to be understood. Habit number 6, synergize. These are all the 3 habits. He says it is in public domain because win-win, seek first to understand, synergize. It is with other person. So it is interdependence. So from dependence to independence, I become, and from independent, I should become interdependent. Interdependent. These 3 habits will help me. And 7th habit, number 7, is sharpen the saw. So these are all the 7 habits which will help me to grow from dependent to independent, and from independent to interdependence. I will know all those things. So private victory and public victory. First, this should be, of course, attempted. Mastering, we all attempt to do it, but we should practice it with the right earnest, with all sincerity. So we'll see the subsequent slides. Paradigm and paradigm shift. This is the one important thing. On the other day, Arun sir was also talking about mind and see. Instead of seeing is believing, it is believing in seeing. Believing. It is not seeing is believing. No, it is no longer. It is believing is seeing. Actually, what you believe, you see. That's what this paradigm is about. What is paradigm? It is a lens through which we say the word. That is my point of view, my perception. We think we see the world as it is. No, we see the world as we are conditioned to see it. That's what this paradigm is about. So there has to be a shift in the paradigm. The right way to change a person's behavior is to change his paradigm, how they define themselves. How do you see your role? Stephen Covey says, if you want small changes to happen, change your attitude. If you want big change to happen, sustainable changes, long-term changes, change your paradigm, he says. No point in just changing your attitude. Change your paradigm. Paradigm is the beginning and ending of everything. We'll see how it is. That is paradigm shift. That is talking. What can you see, my dear friend, here? Can somebody tell me? Can somebody unmute and tell?
A lady's face.
Chidambaram, young lady and old lady, sir. Chidambaram.
Yeah, Chidambaram, I mean, yeah, Chidambaram is Chidambaram. This is young lady. Okay. Ideally, what do we do is, if there are 60 people, 30 people will send outside the class, 30 people will remain. The first 30 people will show this. They will say this is young girl. Then the next set of 30 people will be called in. This earlier 30 people will be asked to go out. What do we see now? Chidambaram sir said, old lady.
Old lady.
Old lady. Old lady. Let us see the next one. What do we see now?
The same old lady, sir.
Okay. Anybody else?
Young lady.
Yeah. Both. Young lady is there.
Both old and
Young
young.
lady
Yeah.
and both.
Yeah.
Both
See,
in the same
see,
picture.
this is a young girl with an eyelid, short nose, and of course, that is young girl. The old
A lady
lady.
before makeup and after makeup, sir.
Sorry, I am afraid I'm not able to. Yeah. Long nose, long chin.
A lady's face with 50 years of difference.
Yeah, I mean, maybe same person, different person. So what happens here is, my dear friend, the people who are shown this young girl, and I will show this, of course. They have seen the young girl. They have been conditioned. I conditioned your mind with this young girl. With that paradigm, you are seeing this and you are looking at her as a young girl and then start thinking. Believing is seeing. You have believed it was an young girl. It is an young girl and start. Then what do you do? What is your interpretation? Ah, he's a young girl. Or rather, she's a young girl. Maybe I can, I mean, if I'm my age, I say, it looks like push, my daughter, I'll say. Some other young man, 28-year-old, 28-year-old person, can I take her for a date? See his interpretation. Because of his paradigm of young girl, he is looking at this picture, his interpretation is telling that can I take her to a movie or restaurant. Whereas others
Depends on the, sorry to interrupt, Khalilullah here.
சொல்லுங்க Khalil, சொல்லுங்க.
It depends on the perspective of the person who looks at it.
Same thing, yeah. That's what I'm telling. Same thing. That's what paradigm. That's what paradigm. See here, people who have seen old lady. If they see, they old lady. This is an old lady. Maybe should I help her to cross the road? See my thought process. Because I was conditioned to see her as an old lady. That's the face. Then I look at her as an old lady. Then my interpretation, thoughts, words, and action. Paradigm. With that paradigm, I look at things. Then with that thing, I interpret. Then my thoughts coming, thoughts, words, and action. Then I decide, okay, shall I help her to cross the road? So this is what paradigm is all about. And we need to, there has to be a shift in paradigm shift. So this is one section, paradigm. Next is we are coming to the first habit, be proactive. This proactive. Habit number one. Proactive is I'm in charge of me. I take initiative. I'm a responsible person. See, this is important. I do the right thing without being told, or when nobody is even looking at it, I'll do the right thing only. See the integrity level? That is it. Proactive. I don't blame others for my wrong actions. I take initiative. I am in charge of me. I take responsibility. I choose my action, attitude, and mood. Be proactive. That is what is habit number one. Say, classic case, circle of concern and circle of influence. In our day-to-day life, morning to evening, morning to night, so many things are happening. Circle of concern, circle of influence. There are certain things I can control. There are certain things I cannot control. Things which I cannot control, they become circle of concern. I don't need to do anything. But circle of influence, thing which I can control. Let me control. That is circle of influence. So let us control the controllables. That's what they say. Let us control the controllables. Circle of influence are controllable. Let us control the controllables. When we control the controllables, largely we'll be able to control the results. Not fully. Largely we'll be able to control the results. So what happens? Being proactive, focus, it releases positive energy. It enlarges the circle of influence. This is a circle of influence. It enlarges it. But if you have a reactive focus, negative energy, it reduces the circle of influence. I'll give you a small example. 7, 8 months, pandemic, I can't do anything. Circle of concern, can I do anything? No. Lockdown. But circle of influence, what happens? My friend, he started learning. I mean, he is a little weak in PowerPoint. He started learning PowerPoints. He utilized that opportunity. Another friend started learning Hindi. He did not know Hindi. He is a trainer. He has learned Hindi. It's a circle of influence. No point in blaming pandemic. I can't go lockdown. No. Do what you can do within your hands. Circle of influence. So that thereby, when things are better, then you come out of it and you are able to do well. That's what it is. Similarly, even in pandemic also, even today, what is circle of concern, pandemic, circle of influence, SMS. Can I use the sanitizer? Can I wear mask? Can I use the social distancing? Circle of influence, can I do that? So that's what circle of concern and circle of influence, proactive focus and reactive focus. See the language, the reactive language, nothing I can do. He makes me so mad. He's only blaming others. See the proactive language. Let us look at our alternatives. I'll choose an appropriate response. I choose, I decide, I prefer, I will. It's all me. I will do it. I can do it. I will try. That is proactive. Reactive is, I mean, nothing I can do. Let it come. All if only like that. If only you was there. If only my boss was good. I would. Why? Why do you put all those things? If only and all those things. See, things what you cannot control is circle of concerns. What you can control, that is circle of influence. Your attitude, behavior, perception. Those are all the proactive people. Reactive people, they'll blame the economy. They'll blame the news. They'll blame how other people will think about me. They'll blame the weather. That is the reactive people. So be proactive. That's what he says. The haves. They say, no, if I have it, if I like that. But here it is be. I can be more passionate. I can be more diligent. I can be more creative. That's what is. proactive people. Second, habit number 2, begin with the end in mind. We did we not discuss in the earlier 5 skills, one of the skills. We said no, always be focused on the larger picture. Begin with end in mind. Have a plan and go ahead with your goals. Choices. What are the choices are going to be? Stimulus and response. Classic test, my friend. Stimulus. There are stimulus. There will be responses. But what kind of responses I'm making? There can always be a pause. Let me give a pause. Then I choose the response. There can be 2, 3 responses. It is my choice to choose the response, A, B, C. But the problem with the responses are each response has a consequence. Again, the problem is while I have the choice to choose A or B or C, I don't have the choice of the consequences. I can't stop the consequences, be good or bad. I choose A, there is a consequence. I choose B, there is a consequence. I choose C, there is a consequence. So it is very, very important to give a small pause. Stimulus, response, give a small pause. Think it over, find out what it can do. So that is what is begin with the end in mind. What is your purpose? We said no, in understanding, vision, understanding. No, vision, we said clarify your purpose. We said no, vision, understanding, clarity and agility. Purpose, what is your purpose? Robin Sharma says, purpose of life is life of purpose. Robin Sharma says, purpose of life is life of purpose. Every life has to have a purpose. Vision, it is not the exclusive prerogative of corporates alone. Every individual is supposed to have a mission. They say everything is created twice, once in the mind, and only it comes physically. Everything is created twice. Just like, the way you want to build a house. You don't go and straight away ask the Kotanar Mestri to go to the place and start building. You keep a blueprint. Is it not? 2-bedroom, hall, kitchen, veranda, garden. No, blueprint. Then you create it in the mind. You create it, of course, bring it in your paper. Then you are coming out here. So that is, keep always that. So leadership and management, that's what they say. Everything is done, first in mind, then only in creation. Leadership is doing the right thing and management is doing things in a right way. Leadership gives the direction, management follows it. That's what it is. So that is mission. Everybody should have a mission statement. My mission statement is I help people to unlock their true potential. That is my mission statement. All of us should have a mission statement. Begin with the end in mind. That is habit number 2. Habit number 3, put first things first. Habit number 3. My dear friends, all the successful people, when an interview was conducted, what are the qualities that made you to be successful when it was asked? So many qualities are said. Hard work, persuasion, adaptability, self-confidence, many things. But there was always one thing, a common denominator, one constant thing among all the successful people. They know what to do first. The moment they get up in the morning till night, they are able to prioritize based on the importance they are able to. That we'll be looking at in the next slide. That is put first things first. I do the things I have to do before I'll do the things which I want to do. So I stay focused on what I'm doing. I spend the times which are more important. So that is putting first things first. This is the mother of all slides, my dear friends. If you want, you can take a photograph. They call it Eisenhower slide also. Urgent and important. From the morning to evening, there are very many things I have to do. Some things are urgent, some things are not urgent, some things are most urgent, some things are important, certain things are not important. Can I prioritize them and then do it accordingly? So put them in 4 quadrants: urgent and important. Most urgent, most important, I'll do the thing. It's a firefighting actually. The moment I go to the office, maybe 10 o'clock, 9:30, first thing I'll do, which is most important and most urgent. Firefighting, maybe crisis, pressing problem, deadline-driven project. That is it. And then after spending maybe 1 hour or so, I'll be spending more time here. Things which are important, but not urgent, apparently. Today it is not urgent. Like say prevention. I'm a diabetic, hypertensive. I would like to prevent any complications. So I should go for walking daily basis because health is important for me. It may appear today it is not urgent, but prevention, quality times, go there. Similarly, capability improvement, that's what we are doing. Capability improvement, it may look not important. It is important, it may look not urgent, but capability improvement, keep doing that. Relationship building, important. It may look not urgent, but do it. Suddenly, if tomorrow I want some friends or relatives, they'll not come. I need to keep my friend Murali for the past 40 years. I need all my friends, cultivate them. Relationship building, quality time, recognizing new opportunities as a businessman, salesman, anybody, new opportunities. How do you recognize? Suddenly, if I go today, nobody's going to help me, no customer. I need to keep pegging, keep hitting on the right lane. That is recognizing new opportunities. Of course, planning. Recreation is also there. You can have recreation that is part of a quality time. Third one is, of course, things are urgent but not important. Probably I can delegate it even. Some, say, somebody is, some phone call is there. I can ask my wife to do it. Maybe while I'm in the session now, somebody is, there is a knock on the door. It is urgent, but it may not be important. I will ask my brother, younger brother, to go and open the door. Simply. So can you delegate it rather? Finally, delete these things which are not urgent, not important. Delete them. Delete them, my dear friends. Delete them. Don't do it. Some mail, phone call. Don't do it. Totally. So these are all the 4 quadrants of which this quality time has to be spent on those important aspects, which apparently may not look urgent, but that is the place where we are going to do. So that if I keep these things unattended, it will come here in quadrant number 1. It will come here. So it is extremely important. I spend more time here. That is okay. With that, we have come to public victory. With that, we are coming to public victory. Earlier, it was private victory. Those 3 habits. Public victory. What is public victory? Emotional background. We told no, it is interpersonal. Interpersonal. Then it is like your bank account. There is an emotional bank account. So myself and Mohan sir, we are there. So there is a relationship. There is a bank account. It's an emotional bank account. Should I keep it in red or should I keep it in positive? It should always be in positive. Deposits. What are all the deposits in my relationship with Mohan sir? Understand what matters to the person. Little things. Keep the commitment. Clarify expectation. Everything. See, integrity. And apologize for withdrawals. What is withdrawals? Should I do anything unknowing, hurt him? Let me have the magnanimity to apologize fully. So these are all the deposits, constant deposits. This withdrawal should be avoided in a relationship. Doing things for them from your agenda, manipulating people. Don't do that. Don't be unkind or rude. Don't break a promise. Don't assume they know. Clarify. Don't assume they know. Don't gossip. Don't blame others. See, these are all withdrawals. In a relationship, these are all withdrawals. So there has to be more and more of deposits, ideally. So in then we are coming about win-win situation. In any relationship, it is win-win. It has to be, I'm a problem solver. As we said earlier, think what is good for the relationship. Think what is good for the other person, not just what I want to do. I'm kind to others and try to think of ways to help everyone happy. 4 quadrants, 4 things, it has to be always a win-win. So courage and consideration. I should have the courage. I should have the courage to say whatever I want to say clearly. So whenever the courage is high, and I'm considerate towards others, whenever it is also high, you see, it is a win-win situation. Win-win situation. It cannot be a lose-win situation. It cannot be a win-lose. I cannot put my interests ahead of others. Probably I may get some short-term benefit, but my customer or my from whomsoever, they are not going to be happy if I shortchange them, if I deceive them. I may win today, but I may lose the relationship. Similarly, no point in being a passive, meek person. It's a lose-win situation. I can't allow people to ride roughshod on me. Lose-win. Similarly, no point in being low courage and low consideration, becoming lose-lose situation. There's no point. So ideally, it has to be always a win-win situation. How the win-win situation can happen? Put the interest ahead, common interest ahead of my individual interest. That's how win-win situation. That is habit number 4. Habit number 5, seek first to understand, then to be understood. If at all anything which is crying to be implemented from tomorrow onwards, my dear friend, this is seek first to understand, then to be understood. This is important, and it is also in relative sense easier because it involves me alone. Even though it is in a relationship, let me first seek to understand about others, then to be understood. How it can happen? So how it can happen? Let us see. Listen before you talk. That's what they say. You go to a doctor listens to you. What are the symptoms? Sorry, he is listening. Then he is trying to examine you. Then he gives a prescription. Listen. If somebody is coming here, listen to them patiently. Listen to them. Then you speak. See, there are 5 stages of listening. Some people ignore. They are rude. Pretending, barely presenting, responding. Selective hearing should be avoided. Attentive listening. Again, it is not enough. Empathic listening. Did we not discuss about empathy? In emotional intelligence, see, it is brought out here. Empathic listening. That's what is needed. 5 levels of learning. This is the highest point. Empathic listening. That's what it is there. Win-win. Habit number 6, synergize. Again, synergy. What is synergy? Say together is better. I value other people's thing. In interpersonal relationship, 1 + 1 is equal to, we all know, 1 + 1 is equal to maybe greater than 2, 3, 11, 111. So many things are there. That is synergy. How it can happen, my dear friend? Cooperation and trust. When the cooperation and trust is at the lowest, it is a win-lose situation or lose-win situation, very defensive. When the cooperation and trust is halfway, I respect you, you respect me, but the cooperation is not there. Similarly, the trust is also not there between us. So what happens is, there is a respect between us, but there's no synergy. What is happening? It's a compromise. So it is not even 1 + 1 is equal to 2. I bring 1, you bring 1. It is not even 2. It is 1.5. The synergy can happen only when the cooperation is at the highest, the trust levels are also the highest. Synergy. That brings the win-win situation. That is synergy. Habit number 7, sharpen the saw. All the 6 habits. Practice it on daily basis. Do that. I take care of my body. Did I not say that? Physical, mental, spiritual, social, all the aspects. All the aspects I'll be practicing on day in and day out, day in and day out. All the 6 habits which we have discussed about. Let us do that. Then 7 habits, success is ours. So with this, I complete my presentation. I thank you for your very valuable listening. Now I invite Srivatsan to add a few words.
Thanks a lot, Sridhar. Very excellent and very exhaustive presentation. But a few points I just wanted to touch upon. As far as VUCA is concerned, for some, VUCA is useless. For a few people, VUCA is nothing. But for leaders, VUCA is a challenge. Every organization has a vision. And today's business leaders need the ability to see through the clear vision for the organization. They must define the true direction of their organization. So every organization has a vision, values, and strategy. And vision and mission should be accomplished without compromising the set of values. Values are very important. Value perception is very important because if you compromise value, we lose our credibility. In fact, the shirt what I am wearing, it has a value. The tie what I am wearing, it has a value. The glass what I am wearing, it has a value. So every non-living objects have got a value. As a living object, human being, as a human being, I have got human values. And every organization, throughout the world, every organization has a strategy. I just wanted to ask the audience, we all know that word strategy. Can anybody give your views about strategy, from where the word derives, and can you give the definition of strategy? You can unmute, please.
Strategy is nothing but a plan of action.
Plan of action, very good. Yes. From where it is derived?
So it's from Chidambaram, from war, sir. From where they are, where to go, the movement. That is called Greek word, sir.
Excellent. Then, anybody else? Arun sir, I would love to have your views.
It was Count Gilbert who coined this word.
Okay, very good. Correct. Okay. Strategy is a Greek word. So derived from Greek word, derived from a word called strategos. The definition of strategy is a course of action. It's actually, as what somebody said, war. No, it's from military. It's a course of action agreed by one and all, to be implemented without any deviation for stipulated period of time. So that is the definition of strategy. And every organization designs a strategy, and every organization claims whatever strategy they prepare, that is the best. In fact, the customers to decide whether your strategy is good or not. So every manager, they should create a clarity around the direction and refuse to let the external events pull them off. They should not neglect or abandon their vision as well as mission, which may be their guiding light for the sustainability. The second part which I wanted to discuss is the understanding. With this vision in hand, leaders need in-depth understanding of the organization's capabilities and strategies to take advantages of rapidly changing circumstances, and they have to function with the strength and minimize the weakness. In fact, leaders need to tap and cover full spectrum of viewpoints by engaging directly with the customers and employees, and ensure they are tuned with the tuned with the changes which is happening in the market. They have to spend more time in the marketplace. They have to spend more time with the retail, factories, other centers, isn't it? No, they should simply wander around an office talking to people what is essential. And more importantly, as a leader, leader need to have the courage to step up these challenges and make audacious decisions. They cannot afford to keep their head down by using traditional management techniques while avoiding criticism and risk-taking. In fact, their greatest risk lies in not having the courage to make a bold move, because this millennium, the present era, belongs to bold, not a mere meek or mild, timid decision. Because today's leader should have the courage and conviction, and today's leader must have the integrity and utmost transparent and belief in set of value system. Adaptability, as Sridhar was discussing about adaptability. Adaptability, leaders need to be flexible in adapting to this rapidly changing environment. Long-range plans are often obsolete by the time they are approved. See, if you take a survey for your product for one consecutive year, on 366th day, and what you have taken in first day becomes invalid, useless. You cannot function with yesterday's skill, and today's excellent become tomorrow's ordinary. So managers should know, instead, managers should be flexible tactic. They have to adopt flexible tactics are required for rapid adoption of changing external circumstances, and without altering, without compromising the strategic course. In fact, managers should behave like a bending tree. If you are not a bending tree, when the storm comes, no, you will break. If you are a bending tree, you survive the storm. But more than bending tree, managers should know adapt to the adaptability. Should be like a grass. Even it's a tsunami or storm, no, grass is always a grass. And today we are in the age of information age, and today we are in the age of knowledge workers. And knowledge is a new capital that throws its own challenges. That's why Alvin Toffler, no, 50, 60 years back, no, he said, land, labor, and place. These are the three factors as constituted as a capital traditionally have become far less important. If we have a small piece of land, we have a job and place, is far sufficient 50 years back. But now all the three components have been replaced by only one word called knowledge, and knowledge is the most important capital. In fact, I would like to add, apart from land, labor, and place, I would like to add two more components. One is a drumstick tree and a she buffalo. If you have a land, you can do the farming, get the grains. If you have a job, labor, somehow you can survive. If you have a place to stay. If you have a drumstick tree, throughout the year, it gives drumstick leaves and drumsticks, which is sufficient to cook. And if you have a she buffalo, she gives them, you get a milk, you get a buttermilk, you get a butter, and you get a ghee, you can easily survive. But today, all the components have been replaced by one word called knowledge. And Sridhar spoke about 7 habits. The first habit is to proactive, but I just want to once again reinforce. You go back to 1983 Prudential Cup, when India were down with 5 wickets and 35 runs, and Kapil Dev entered the ground. Imagine what was the situation. He was proactive, and he was keeping the end. He was playing, keeping the end in the mind, isn't it? What does that mean? He wanted to score, and he wanted to stay, and he wanted to make the win-win situation, isn't it? So he was very proactive. He was beginning the innings with keeping the end in the mind, and prioritize. Put first thing first. He was prioritized, and he was keeping everything as a win-win situation. And Synergy was excellent, I'm telling you, because 5 wickets have gone, and the 35 runs. The other side, if they keep losing, we may lose the game. So what excellent teamwork and sharpening the saw, as what she just said. All the physical, mental, spiritual, intellectual faculties just taken care. And begin with the end in the mind. Best is we need to do a Funari test. Imagine a situation. Now I am dead. My dead body is alive. Who all will be there? My wife will be there. My son, my daughter will be there. My brother will be there. My sisters will be there. My neighbors will be there. My colleagues will be there. My subordinates will be there. My bosses will be there. Even my enemies also will be there. Imagine my soul is coming out of the body and seeing all these people, what they are going to come out after my death. My wife will say, there are many occasions I had difference of opinion, but many a time my husband is correct. My son and daughter will say, there are many times my father used to beat, but every beating is a lesson to me. My eldest brother will say, to take a tough decision, the family, though is my younger brother, I used to call him for discussion, he used to give valid suggestion. My neighbor will say, even if I call him midnight 12 o'clock, he will come and help me. I lost my good neighbor. My subordinate will say, whatever today I learned because of my boss. My boss will say, whatever task if I give it to Srivatsan, he will do it without any deviation. Proactively will accept it, isn't it? Even my enemy will say, there are many areas, we were fighting. In fact, I was having difference of opinion, but always my friend is right. So if you want all these words after your death, while existing, what we have to do. And other point I just wanted to tell about, begin with keeping the good end in the mind. Usain Bolt. Imagine for years, running 100 meters less than 100 seconds was impossible. 1988 Seoul Olympics, Ben Johnson ran for 8.92. Of course, it was not given because of doping. It was awarded to Carl Lewis. So that record was unbeatable for another number of years. And Usain Bolt ran for how many minutes? 9.58 seconds. Imagine the event comes once in 4 years. The time is only less than 10 seconds. Imagine Usain Bolt, how many kilometers you would have practiced, how many miles you would have practiced in 4 years. So you are keeping the end in the mind, begin with keeping in the end mind. And synergy, again a teamwork, again a team building. Sharpening the again self-assets, you have to take care of physical, mental, spiritual, moral, and intellectual activities. So with this, I want audience to, I leave the audience to have some questions.
Sir, this is a very, excellent lecture. Excellent presentation, sir. Thanks to both Mr. Sundarajan, sir, and Mr. Srivatsan, sir, also. Sir, I have one doubt. May I ask now? It's a doubt.
Right now, no problem, sir. Please go ahead.
Sir, basically, very exhaustive, very informative, but there is one area which I like. When we say VUCA, it is basically about the volatility. These terms which we have already mentioned, and you said about the VUCA prime, which means understanding and clarity and all that. Now, when we see the points which you have given for adapting, these are all people skills, whether it is creativity, persuasion, collaboration, habits, and all these are, there is nothing related with the environment, the externality factor. For example, in case of, COVID, I am just taking this COVID as a case study. Our government and our people have done very well. It's quite nice that we have still very low rate
Mr.
of.
Sridhar, can you please stop the screen share so that we can see the speaker?
Okay.
Please.
Okay.
Please, if you don't mind. Huh?
No problem. I'll just, where it is, I'll just see. Now 1 minute. 1 minute. I'll just. Okay.
Yeah. So,
Mr. Mohan, please focus on the speaker if you don't mind, so that we will know who is asking the question.
Sanjay Thomas here, sir. Sanjay Thomas. I have also done an IITD course, and I have attended one or two Arun sir's presentation as well. So basically, sir, this like for example in COVID, when we say VUCA prime, so we did quite well. But just as a case study, I'm trying to clarify with this VUCA thing. So we had limit. It could also be said like, despite of all this, like something like 10 million migrants were on road and all that suffering we know. but yet otherwise overall we did quite well. So this we did with limited understanding, limited clarity, and limited agility. We can say that. Now, extending the same thing to climate change, which is a very big issue. So generally it is said that in climate change, always the most deprived sections, they suffer the most. So how to use this knowledge which you have presented today to a case study like climate change? I mean, how it can be done? I mean, just a few guidelines, not an elaborate one, because the externality is not there in this whole scheme of things. It's all related with people skills actually. So this is my, I mean.
It's a good question. But only thing is, sir, climate change, as you all know, here it is talking about individual, 5 skills, 7
Yes.
habits. It is individual, how Sridhar can develop, how Srivatsan or yourself can develop.
Correct, sir.
You know, so that I can face the world.
That's right.
Where a circle of concern, circle of influence. Circle of concern, I have no control. Circle of influence, what I have control, I can develop. But this climate change, it involves everybody. It involves government. It involves industry. There could be some vested interest. So in that case, I think it is a larger question. It requires larger political will. Only now USS probably realized some 7-8 years back or something, only they have recognized the problem. Otherwise, what is our position? Polluter must pay generally. Polluter should pay. That is a international dictum. But what is happening? US never refused. I mean, they even did not recognize that 7-8 years back. Slowly only. So which means it is a question of everybody should, I mean, bring in their thought process together and try to save the planet. Is it not? So it's a big, larger question, sir.
Yeah,
Mere skills and attitude is not going to be enough because we are talking of individuals here. There we are talking of governments, politicians, people, industries. So it's a much, much larger, beyond our uncontrollables, I would say, rather. It is beyond our control. It is beyond our control. I mean, but
If you
it's a good
don't mind,
thought.
Mr. Sridhar, Mr.
Sir, you-
Sridhar, if you don't mind, can I come in?
Sir, you must contribute. You must contribute.
See, the bride and the bridegroom are the boss of the ceremony always.
No.
Others are not allowed to enter.
No, I have only initiated a discussion. I should have told in the beginning the caveat. I should have put, I am only initiating a discussion. There's no question of
Mr.
speaker.
Sanjay Thomas has asked a very important
Please go ahead.
question.
Please go ahead.
And,
Please go ahead.
Mr. Sridhar and Mr. Srivatsan have brought VUCA into a very sharp focus. Just to answer you, Mr. Sanjay, I hope I'm in a position to satisfy you. See, VUCA as a term came into being in 1987 in the Army College. And it was at that time, you know, that Nassim Taleb, business psychologist, researcher, he was doing research on randomness and volatility, and that is how it all evolved. But it was left to Henry Mintzberg, who wrote a book called Strategy Safari, where he propounded 2 theories of strategy. One was called the prescriptive theory, the other was called the descriptive theory. In prescriptive theory, he propounded the philosophy of, what do you call it, accumulation of information, that is analysis, and then execution. But it was found that there was always a gap between analysis and execution. And when it came to execution, it was always the time had expired. And second thing is, it was more useful in the case of a stable environment than in the case of an unstable environment as propounded by VUCA.
Yes.
So people started adopting the descriptive theory of strategy. The descriptive theory is incrementalism. This was accepted, this was, adopted. But then again, as Mr. Sridhar rightly pointed out, it was all focusing on a narrow area. And it was found that when it came to larger disruption, it had to undertake a certain another leap to a next level, because VUCA depends upon data analytics. But in a larger disruption, there is no data from the past which can be used in the future. For instance, you said COVID.
Correct.
COVID has totally negated the opportunity of using past data because the new normal is entirely different. There is no past data of qualitative as well as quantitative. There is no office going or you really do not know what the qualitative parameters are. This is the place where the iterative principles of VUCA, the incrementalism, and a focus on the customer centricity, as Mr. Sridhar and Srivatsan rightly pointed out, the focus is more on goal rather than on task. The job to be done is not the task, but the job to be done is defined as the goal which is to be achieved. This is where design thinking comes in. That is the reason, where earlier the competitive advantages were defined as two: comparative advantage as well as differentiative advantage. But a sharp focus has been brought by COVID. And now the third most important advantage has become the design advantage.
Right.
The only way you can handle intangible problems, in design thinking, there are three types of problems. One is called the simple problem. The other is a complex problem. The third is a wicked problem. The simple problem is where you know the solution, you have a what is a use case, and you reach the goal by a linear path. The complex problem is where, one, you don't know what the outcome is, but you know what the problem is. You have definitive parameters to define the problem, and every solution that you try takes you through a different route. That is a complex problem. But you have various options, and you can adopt one of those options and reach the solution. Wicked problem is one where you are unable to define the problem. You don't know what the solution is. The routes are also unknown. You have to iterate by incrementalism, but you have to remain on the path and be aligned. That is where design thinking comes in. So the natural progression of VUCA into a larger perspective is design thinking.
Right.
When you apply design thinking, you put the human being in the center of the problem and try to understand his needs and co-create along with him. I hope this answers you
Yes, sir.
to a small extent, because you see.
Yeah. So which means, sir, in case of a business scenario, VUCA prime will mean using incrementalism. That is, keep moving, even you have limited vision, limited understanding, limited clarity, and limited agility. Keep moving towards the goal. Am I right, sir?
You have incremental movements, and the results which become your next problem statement to develop further.
Okay. So
you see, the results are not the solution, but a new problem statement.
So it could be iterative also.
It is totally iterative. It is totally iterative.
Agile methodology.
When the past data is available, because VUCA depends a lot upon having data. You have a data, you study the data, you analyze it, you map out a strategy, you implement it incrementally, take the solutions, iterate, move forward. It is something very akin to fail safe, fail fast, and learn from it.
Learn. Right, sir.
Okay, you see, the fail safe, fail fast policies which are applied to uncertain market conditions is VUCA. Like Mr. Srivatsan and Mr. Sridhar were highlighting, combined with the 7 habits of Stephen Covey, VUCA can be a very, very powerful tool to implement your corporate strategy.
So
exceedingly well they have explained it. I should really congratulate both of them for having understood VUCA so well and to have been able to articulate it so well. Because you see, VUCA is not something which every person can, articulate. They have done an exceedingly good job. And, I was sitting spellbound the way the way Mr. Sridhar and Mr. Srivatsan collaborated to weave what do you call it, a beautiful tapestry of strategy. It was excellent.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, both of you. And I think, like Mr. Sridhar was telling, I think we need to have an exclusive session from both of them on emotional intelligence.
Yes, sir. Very nice, sir. And thank you once again to all 3 of you, sir. You clarified my doubt.
No, no, I am nowhere in the scene.
But sir, I think you clarified.
I have to intervene here. Day for
So,
yesterday, I was telling Arun sir today morning. Day for yesterday, I had an opportunity to listen to Philip Kotler. It was a live show. Some 850 odd people attended. I was also one among them, out of 1,200 registrations. He spoke about modern management, father of marketing, 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, 4.0, 5.0. 1 hour. Our time 6:30 to 8, 7:30, 7:45. He left. Then it was conducted by IIM Kolkata. Then, of course, it was a pre-planned. Then, a marketing manager from Hindustan Unilever, one Mr. Sachit Handa, he came and explained what he's doing. He's in charge of Vim. Vim, mind you, Vim powder. Vim soap, powder, water. He's in charge of that. As Arun sir is telling a problem statement, he tried to explain how he will approach. Bihar, that segment is growing at 10%. Vim is growing at only 5%. That is a problem statement. How I'm going to do it? Bihar is a state where the penetration of TV is not great, 50%. Even if the 50% penetration, 60% is reached, which means only 30%. 10 crore population, only 3 crore are reached. I would like to reach another 3 crore minimum. How do I do that? Villages. That person, Sachit Handa, was trying to explain point by point. After he's from IIM Kolkata. Now he is practicing as a manager, the marketing manager. Before starting his deliberation, he said, because father, Philip Kotler finished his discussion and he left. Then Sachit Handa was coming. Then he said, sir, it is very difficult. It is like one Sachin Tendulkar coming and playing a cover drive, telling you how to do it. And then now I am asked to come and do it. How do I succeed, Sachin? Similarly, in the outset, I should have told. 2 days back, I was listening. 3 days back, I couldn't come. 2 days back. The leadership masterclass, I listened to Arun sir. Then, for me to come and succeed him today, it is going to be really difficult. I knew the way somebody had to. It's more. I'm not telling that I'm Sachit Handa and Arun sir is Philip Kotler.
I seriously object to this statement, Sridhar sir. Sridhar sir, I object. I will not accept you to continue in this line. No. I refuse.
Truth be told, you may refuse. I'm entitled to my opinion. You always know I don't hesitate to tell my opinion. So honestly speaking, it was always going to be difficult. I'm happy now. He had intervened and tried to throw more light on VUCA. You see, that's how we ended the discussion, obviously. I should have told in the beginning, I only tried to initiate a discussion. Maybe I took a little longer time, probably. But I'm really happy that you raised a valid point, and Arun sir, obviously, as I was only expecting from him, stepped in and given. So maybe others, whatever, can.
You see, Mr. Sridhar, I will tell you the only reason why I came in is, I wanted to highlight the fact that what you had said was extremely relevant. You see, time passes. You see, in 1799, Count Gubert, in his book, L'Art Stratégique, for the first time used the word strategy. But the father of modern strategic thinking is Harry Igor Ansoff, who expired in 2002. It did not stop there. It continued with Henry Mintzberg, and today it has landed in D School in Stanford. So you see, things evolve, and things have to be brought into perspective because each and every concept has its relevant place in management. We might have the latest Kalashnikov with us, but to kill a mosquito, we will not use a Kalashnikov.
You don't need it. You don't need it.
So you see, for everything that is, VUCA has a tremendous place, and the way you and Mr. Srivatsan have, explained it, and that too, the brilliance of the whole program was in integrating it with the 7 habits of successful people. You created a reference point, which was very, very important. And I felt, that it has to be brought into perspective. That's why I entered. I sincerely hope that no one felt bad about my
Sir, welcome intervention.
Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
Don't be modest. Welcome intervention.
I think we should have very soon, Mr. Mohan.
Good framework, sir. And I should thank you all for once again, sir.
Thank you, sir.
See, we are having, Mr. Sanjay, we are having, in TTBC, We are very fortunate to have all these people come on our invitation and present their expertise. So many people are benefiting. So many new thoughts are coming up. So many people are learning things. We are learning things. See, learning can never end. The beauty of it is, like, Mr. Sridhar was telling me today morning, you have an apple, I have an apple. I give you my apple, you give me your apple. We still left with only one apple. But I have an idea, you have an idea, we exchange, we both have two ideas.
Correct.
Synergy.
And it makes us all think. Frankly speaking, yes, today a new perspective has been offered to me and to the entire, Participate UCNTR community in the integration of 7 habits of successful people with VUCA. People might have read 7 habits of successful people. People might know about VUCA, but the integration of it was done by these 2 gentlemen, these 2 experts, and that has benefited all of us.
Yes.
That is the advantage of this platform. I will take this opportunity to request all the members who are in Participate UCNTR to come forward and share your expertise with us.
Sir, as far as VUCA is concerned, all the 4 parameters, volatility and uncertainty, 96% you need to be aware what is happening. And 3% you need to diagnose the situation. And the 1% we need to use your common sense. That's it. If you do this exercise, I'm telling you, you can easily face and you can easily overcome. You can even challenge. You can definitely, I think, upgrade. So 96% of awareness and 3% of diagnosis, and taking the common 1% as a common. And today, vaccines of, when pandemic was there, people are wanting a vaccine. Today, vaccines have come. Now, people are contemplating whether I need to go for vaccine or not. They are waiting for the 3-phase trial and the safety measures, isn't it? No. So people are now directionless, isn't it? No. They want something, but something has come, but they are not in a position to take decision. Again.
Mr. Srinivasan, can I make a small request to you?
Yeah.
Why don't you and Mr. Sridhar do a hands-on workshop with a particular small problem for this, so that, we will all be able to appreciate how to move forward. Maybe, we can use it in our own way, in our daily life. Maybe you can do a small workshop, maybe 2 to 3 hours workshop one Sunday or something. What, Mr. Sanjay? Do you think this would be a very helpful thing for all of us?
Yes, sir. It should be a good idea, like a business
maybe
case
we
study.
Can do a case study.
A business case study could be solved using this. It could be a real life or hypothetical also. I mean, a mixture of both.
We can take a mixture of both.
Take an existing case study and present it to us, and then we can all work on it together. Collectively co-create a solution and see how close we are to what was really done, how aligned we are.
Yes.
Can be done. Yeah.
And one more request, I put a problem statement today in the group.
Yeah.
I'm sure most of you have seen it. Why don't we all try to answer it?
Today I was a little bit, right from morning there have been string of meetings actually.
Yeah, please, when you have the time, because I'm having a master class on that statement on the 6th.
Yeah. Good. We'll do it.
On the 6th, I will be having a master class on that.
Very interesting.
Try to, I will request all of you to give your input.
I will send it. Good.
And any other questions, please continue with the questions, please.
Yeah. The participants, how did they? Yeah. But you spoke of a good point, Sanjay. It is a climate, global warming, climate management. But it's always, they are advanced countries. They have progressed. We have to advance. Still, we have been responsible enough and say that yes, we will try to reduce the carbon emission. India has been very extremely responsible. But it remains to be seen how far it can be implemented.
Yeah.
It requires a political will from all, and
probably
a larger, how to save the planet kind of the thinking is needed. But it's a good thought, I should say. Yes, Mohan sir. Thanks for the very patient listening.
Yeah, with incrementalism and iteration, with climate change, they say that we don't have much degrees. It's 1 degree, 1.5 degree, 2 degree, that's all. So we don't have much leeway also in the margins.
Not much elbow room to
Yeah, much.
play around. You're exhausted probably already. Yeah. Yes, sir. Mohan sir.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. I will just switch off my video at least.
Yeah, okay. No, Mohan sir is the one.
Okay.
Yeah, I just wanted to know, I will circle back to the participants to see if there are any further questions or queries, clarifications, suggestions, recommendations, anything.
Good evening, Mr. Sridhar.
Hello, sir.
I'm Ananta Krishnan. Can I have my few feedback?
Please, sir.
I'm also in the pharmaceutical field 40 years. I don't know how Sudarshan and Sridhar, I missed you in this 40
Farmer
years.
Ananta Krishnan
அதேதான்.
திருநெல்வேலியில இருந்தாரு அப்புறம் நான் திருநெல்வேலியில இருந்தேன்.
Absolutely
Nicholas.
tenacious memory.
இல்ல நான் ரொம்ப நாளா ஆமா நிக்கலஸ்
Oh,
ஸ்ரீதர்.
wonderful.
Okay.
Fantastic. But your speech was really that flow, that vocabulary and all this. I was still.
Thank
but
you.
as an old timer, this IQ, EQ, and all, it was a new terminology to me. But you did so straight, so simple. IQ gets you a job, but the EQ only gets you promotion feature. Wonderful. That one
No,
word.
we need to do one on emotional intelligence, sir. We need to do one. I mean, so somebody else should do it. If not me, I would request in this platform somebody else should do it on.
Really. So that's
It's
why
becoming
Mr. Arun has been appreciating.
Please,
any talented people have to come and perform this platform, and he only dragged me here. So I'm really happy to listen to both of you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Ananto. We will continue our friendship.
Sure.
It goes back to 1983.
Absolutely. And I've been doing all diabetes education all
I know.
Sundays
I've been following you also. Only thing is we couldn't contact each other.
Absolutely, Mr. Thank you very much. Very nice.
Thank you,
This
Ananto.
platform connected both of us. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Ananto. Thank Arun sir. Thank Arun sir.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Arun sir, if your calendar is full this month, maybe or after 20th, one Mr. Shivkumar Mani of ex-Glaxo training manager, he wanted to give one program on work-life balance.
Definitely. Anytime you please send me the details. I will fix up a date.
And one Mr. Ramanathan, ex-NIT and NIS Sparta. One Mr. Ramanathan, ex-Aristo and ex-NIT Sparta, NIS Sparta. You will give one program after 20th, sir.
Sure.
Yes,
see, after 20th means 19, 20, 21, 22, it will not be possible because my program will be there. And then again, 3 days gap is there. Then again, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, my program. See, up to March, I think 7th or 8th, every week, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, it will not be possible. But other days, they can use it. No issues.
You look at the calendar.
I'll see the calendar accordingly.
Please tell me. Yeah, see, please let us be very clear. This is your platform.
You created this platform.
You see, I'll tell you, what we create need not necessarily be our right alone. We give birth to our children, but they have a life of their own.
Correct.
So you see, this is a platform of entire, participate, use Scientia community members. And definitely it is available to all of you. No issues about that.
Thanks a lot, sir. Thank you.
Most welcome. And you see, I am very thankful to you, Mr. Srivatsan, for introducing such excellent people into the group.
Oh, thank you.
Because you see, it is the human capital which made Infosys what it is.
100%.
Let us not forget that.
It is
human capital is by far the most important resource that an organization can have. And you are enriching our human capital, not only with your personal presence, but also with the presence of your friends and other colleagues. Please, most welcome. All of them are welcome.
After sending the message to you, I want to inform them. They are all very happy. They said, I think.
Thank you.
That's the willingness they are showing.
Yes. We will definitely offer.
And most of them are trainers.
Acha. Are they there today here?
I didn't notice. Maybe might be. I think one person is having some program. Other people would have attended today. Hope so.
This is Bangalore. Sivatsan, Bangalore. Yeah, I'm a trainer. Sorry to interrupt you.
No, Sridhar is there.
Can you just focus, Mr. Mohan, on Mr. Sridhar? So we can
Sridhar, Stepwin is my consultancy. Sir.
Very good. Welcome, Mr. Sridhar.
Oh, he is the person I recommended.
Ex-GSK, sir. I'm a trainer. Yeah.
You are from GSK?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And there was one other gentleman from SKB, that is Smithkline Beecham, isn't it?
Prakash. Yeah. And Venkat Ramanan, he was a gentleman, AGM of Cadilla. Then he was with some training institute. Now again, he is some institute in Mumbai.
Okay.
This is Srivatsan, sir. Sir, I think IQ, EQ, nowadays what is more required is skill on spiritual quotient. SQ is also important. That's what I wanted.
AQ is also there. But generally now, okay, you're right.
They
IQ,
call
EQ, SQ,
social
AQ,
code.
social quotient, adversarial quotient. Yeah, I mean.
I'm talking about spiritual quotient, boss.
Yeah, okay. That's also there. Sir.
Logical quotient is there.
I don't know.
Spiritual, yes.
I don't. Yeah, it is there.
So many queues are there.
Yeah. They are in the queue actually, standing in the queue.
Thanks a lot, sir. Thanks a lot.
Because peace of mind you get, whatever you do activity, peace of mind is important.
Yeah.
So that you get in a spiritually evolved person.
That's what he says. No, in the sharpen the saw.
Thank you. It was a nice session. It was very good session.
That's what he said. No, in the sharpen the saw, habit number 7. Both spiritually, physically, mentally, and socially. So sharpen the saw covers that spiritual area.
Self assets.
I'll request everyone to join in tomorrow. We have a wonderful presenter, Mr. Suresh, who will be talking about mudras, since we are talking about spiritual.
Okay.
He was a training manager for the Himalaya drugs.
Okay.
And he is a very acclaimed coach, very well qualified also, and he knows all these subjects very well.
Very good.
And he will be giving a presentation on mudras. Let us join and learn something from him. Maybe, we can enhance the quality of our life.
Yeah.
Okay, friends, you all continue. I have an appointment, so I will take leave.
Please go ahead.
Thank you. Good night. Thanks a lot to everyone.
Arun sir. Thank you, Arun sir, for your presence.
Thank
you.
Thank you.
Hi.
So thank you.
Mohan sir, may I thank everybody, Top League,
Thank you very much.
the organizers,
Yeah.
the participants, my friends who have been patient enough, listening, interacting. I would like to thank everybody for your
Thanks a lot.
presence. I thank
Thanks a
Top
lot.
League organizers,
Sridhar.
Arun sir, Mohan sir, Prasad, everybody.
Thanks a lot.
Bye.
Sir. Bye.
It was a very enjoyable evening, I must say.
Yeah.
Yes, sir, Mohan sir.
Thank you, Sridhar, and thank you,
Thank you. Bye.
Quality day.
Sudarshan.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, sir.
We expect you to come on tomorrow evening, sir. Thank
Yes,
you.
sir, yes.
Sure.
Yeah, yes.
Sure, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye. See you all.